Okay.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Seeds of True Success. I'm really super excited because today we have Professor John Brady with us, and he's one of the presenters in the DCIG Global, the the freedom from our addictions. So it's really an honor to have him. He's a super intelligent guy. He's been studying the ancient Asian books that we get all this information from for the past 25 years. But even more importantly, he's the one who goes to Mongolia, to places all over the world, and retrieves these books and brings them forth for the translators to translate into English. So he's a real key person in our organization, and we're really happy to have him here today.
Thank
He's
you
not
so
yeah,
much.
yeah. Yeah, I gotta tell you a little bit more about him. He actually has, a history in international business. He was head of a marketing, executive director of a marketing team for an international business and very successful. And he's been studying this for, he studied meditation prior to this for about 12 years, and so cumulative practice. I'm gonna edge it down so you can see how youthful he is. Probably 35 years. Anyway, he's an amazing guest, and we're really, really happy to have him. Welcome, Professor John Brady.
Thank you, Janice, and thank you, Alex. And it's a pleasure to be a part of your conversation today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here, John. We were hoping you would tell us a little bit about the subject that you're going to be presenting during DCIG Level 6. It's a fruit of your addiction, right? Can you tell us a little
Yeah,
bit about that?
sure. I mean, I did this course. What we did this 4 years ago, and now it's coming back in a very different way, in a very exciting, clear way for me. So, my live tool this time is called the Fruits of Addiction. And it really relates to the results of one's own addiction and what it does in terms of, I would say, you know, the self-destructive nature and how it falls into play throughout an addictive behavioral life. And it's a bit depressing actually, but it's real. It obviously impacts millions of people around the world, and I kind of give the downside of why addiction needs to be stopped. And here's where you could be in 10 years if you continue your addiction.
Professor Brady, I have a question. Why would you title it something like the fruits of addiction? Because to me, I hear that and I go, I think of apples and oranges and the benefits of addictions. But you're telling me the fruits of addictions are really negative. Could you
Yeah, the
explain?
fruits of addictions are, we always put a positive spin on the DCI language. And I think the fruits of addiction is, uh, quite frankly, the negative side of addiction and the behavior that brings you through a downward spiral in life. And it's very specific in terms of the layers of what it does to one and what it does to those around the person who's addicted, especially. Um, and so it has. I think it's a wake up call right in the middle of the 12 life tools. It's this place where you have to realize that addiction is real, you admit to addiction, and here's where it takes you if you're not willing to to do some work. And this course is a remarkable injection of a new philosophical idea and worldview about the actual source of where addiction truly comes from. And that to me just impacts ongoing great work by many of the organizations in the world that are helping millions of people, millions of people. We inject something new into the processes that exist already. And those processes with our ideas could impact in a way that could be substantially powerful and highly successful.
So you get all this information from the ancient Asian wisdom from the books that you're retrieving, which your organization is called the AM.
Asian Legacy Library.
Thank you. Asian Legacy Library. Yeah. I just support it wholeheartedly because
Oh my gosh, you
I have
are.
used it and, it's changed my life. But, we're here to talk about addictions and how the information that you've brought to us to be translated, how we can use it to, first of all, identify our addictions. So my next question might be, and then I'll give Alex a shot at a question, is when you were going through this, did you identify addictions that you didn't even know you had?
I did actually, and my whole life tool that I did for this wonderful course is about my coffee addiction, and I use it very clearly and frankly to show, the downsides of a stimulant that's very powerful. Coffee is a very powerful stimulant. So I parody myself in the life tool in a way, using an example of a trip to Mongolia that I took in May of this year, and how there was a coffee shortage in Mongolia because of the trade routes in China.
Oh
going into
no.
Mongolia. And I guess I can say it. I bought like this portable Nespresso machine and 65 capsules just to make sure I took my addiction with me on the plane. So so that I use that as an example. I mean, I come to the conclusion that, look, I'm not a 7 or 10 cupper, but I'm a 3.5 to 4, and that can affect me, and it does. And I use it in my life tool experience.
Great. I use that one a lot. In fact, I had coffee ice cream before the show. Alex, did you have a question for Professor Brady?
Yeah, well, I think it's really interesting, Professor John, that you said it's a little bit depressing to look at our addictions and our bad habits. And I think I am also experiencing that just as we're getting ready to study this topic even more deeply. I don't really want to look. There's a part of me that doesn't want to admit that I'm doing things that are hurting myself and are hurting others. Do you have any tips about how we can, be honest with ourselves? How are we going to take this journey?
Yeah, Alex, the denial aspect is the ultimate, continuation of your own addiction systems that operate. In the old days, in my times, in the 80s and 90s, people used to have interventions. Remember
Mhm.
interventions, they for the benefit of the person in a family member or a relationship, a significant other. Uh, those were quite common in my days, and you would intervene, bring a person to a situation with your family members, if as an example, and then take them to to somewhere to rehabilitate and to hopefully change the addiction. Um, and my example, in this idea of denial is the admittance of the beginning of letting the idea of you being addicted must be in place in order to do anything about it. You must have that self acknowledged uh, aspect to saying, "Look, I do have this addiction," uh, and it triggers the beginning of a beginning of a process that you may undertake in order to resolve addiction. Um, what this life tool talks about is the various, we call it the ancient mythologies of different, we're very safe and clearly conservative about how we actually bring our ancient wisdom into play in these life tools. But in this case, we call it ancient mythology, like of other realms of existence, and how various, tick downs of the process of addiction actually brings you to these other realms of existence. And we we show that with the results of what addiction does in each level as somebody descends into these places. And I think all of us on this call know somebody who has been and has gone there. And to me, our solutions are remarkable in this tool, as well as the whole course. We have remarkable solutions for people. The ideas are impeccably accurate on how to get out of addiction.
I think that's really key. It's great to know about our addictions, but what we really want to know is how to stop them.
Exactly. Exactly. And how to maintain that. How do you maintain the stopping of that addiction?
Right.
And so this is, I'm just fixing my lights so you can see me better.
Yeah, you're very handsome. We would love to see you.
Well,
You're very handsome. We want to see you.
And don't you think small
you got a
bad
haircut
habits?
again.
Yes, you look great, John.
I'm
Professor
okay.
JB.
I'm doing pretty good.
Professor JB taught us at Sedona College. He just dedicated so much time and started Sedona College so that so many of us have been able to learn how to train people in these ideas. So thank you so much.
I miss it. I miss the in-person. We got to do it this year, next year. We got to do one.
Yeah, I hope so. But I was just going to say that those small bad habits, I think, are almost in a way harder to admit. I am thankful that I've gotten over most of my really big self-destructive alcohol, drugs and problems that I've had in the past. But it's those small things that steal our time and our money. But I just seem to have this attachment to it. So yeah, it's going to be good to learn more. Again, learn it again.
Yeah, our current times addictions don't appear to be addictions, right? Like internet use or stimulants in general that are so-called culturally normal. And I think that's where we go in this collection of life tools. So it's doing this over again for me has been invaluable. Actually, rereading the new manual, the enhanced manual, and then digging into this particular life tool has been really helpful for me. And I haven't quit coffee, but I'm moderated down, quite frankly, to 2 cups a day or something.
First step is awareness.
Yeah, awareness, exactly.
Well, excuse me.
No.
I have another question. I was looking at some of my own addictions and they're socially acceptable. Like I work really hard, but I would call it an addiction because it fits the definition of addiction. I can't stop it even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I might not have them in order. It hurts me and it hurts others.
Correct.
So I know it's an addiction. And what I'm afraid of is if I stop this addiction, then I'm just going to find something else to be addicted to. And
Yeah, it just superimposes onto some other habit.
yeah, I was wondering if you had any advice for me.
Janice, it comes down to a philosophical addiction, right? Like
Yeah.
the whole point of this beautiful life tool that I did, but also the complete manual is, can we identify the philosophical addictions that we have toward cultural norms and how it entangles people in behavior that is damaging, whether mentally damaging, emotionally damaging, physically damaging. But I think it directs to your question, like this idea of a philosophical addiction that we ourselves have to identify, and it's blind, it's quiet, it's invisible, functioning behind the scenes in our life. And I think a lot of energy and time is put into this life tool. Not this life tool, I'm sorry, but other life tools in the catalog about the idea of physical addiction. And so we tend to, I don't know, my sense is we tend to not grasp the idea that, I can talk about it a little bit, but not, we don't see the addiction because of our philosophical worldview of how we deny the idea that people and ourselves are in addiction. And we all grew up in America, right? The three of us, and I wouldn't say my parents were alcoholic, but they were drinkers, they drank. It was culturally like the way to live. And, that 5 o'clock cocktail hour in our house was just the norm. And, that kind of idea in my time. Uh, and, I think, indirectly, you don't know it's impacting you, but, I have siblings who became alcoholic because I think of our family conditioning and that worldview that it's okay to drink. And not to say I don't want to condemn drinking, but for me, it was a part of that world. And, I saw damage, and I think it's relevant to this time much more than even then. That was the days of innocence, I call them. You know, but I do believe that we solve and resolve issues about these ideas of addiction, the forms of addiction in this beautiful course. It's an amazing course, needed course for even non-addictive people.
I don't think there's anybody that's not addicted to something.
You're right.
I think we all, I mean, that's been my experience with the people I'm around, and I can certainly point out their addictions. I miss my own, but I can point out theirs.
But they're all the good addictions we don't really acknowledge. We have
Yeah.
great addictions, and those are the ones that are buoying, our life in a very beautiful way. And we don't spend too much time on the good things we do in the addictive behavior of what you and Alex do in the world. I mean, you're doing remarkable things in the world, and we don't kind of give ourselves enough, congratulations, and we kind of like fall into that. And this is, the negative addiction is it's a thought process, right? It's a way of thinking that sustains and keeps people, imprisoned in some form or another, not allowing people to give the capacity of their possibility an exceptional landscape to play in. And I think this is the thing that we need to change in the world. Yeah.
So we have a question in the chat about why bad habits hurt us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so there's an idea we are going to get some kind of comfort or happiness from something that's actually harming us. And
Exactly.
yeah, and that's that philosophical addiction that you're
It's
talking about.
philosophical addiction, thinking that the pleasure is in the object that we're actually imbibing in, right? That the object itself contains some kind of, alchemical elixir that gives you some pleasure. Whatever it is that you enjoy doing, that gives you that pleasure. And the philosophical addiction is not understanding the clarity of that's just not the case, that you have done something in your life to help people and to have people enjoy a pleasurable experience, a good dinner together, how you served, giving a pleasurable experience to your family or to whoever is actually creating the causes, the seeds for you to actually enjoy, whatever it is that you think is inside the object that you're enjoying. And that's a big deal question, right? It's a huge, huge discussion. But that's kind of a taste of where addiction takes over. That when that thing, whatever you label it, alcohol or whatever it is,
Ice cream.
you're convinced that the Cabernet 2020, Austin Hope from Sonoma Valley. You open that bottle and you have a taste of that, and it's just exquisite. And you finish the whole bottle. You think it's in the bottle, and it's not. And that's where we have to start to convince people that when that pleasure runs out, that's the addiction will kick your butt. And that's the beginning of the downward spiral of addiction that takes you into very dark places.
So the philosophical addiction is the mistaken idea that the pleasure we get from our addiction is in the addiction. And if we really understood that that is not where the pleasure is coming from, we could stop our addiction.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
In the substance, in the thing that
not
you're
the thing.
after. Yeah.
it's a key point, totally a key point.
Yeah, and I think a proof is, I can remember times when I was younger, drinking a bottle of wine, and it felt like it tasted good at the time, but then in the next morning when you can't even get out of bed, did I think the pleasure was still in the bottle? I'm not so sure.
Mhm.
It wore off. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about registering for the course, because it's not too late and the course is being released tomorrow, but you can watch the videos at your own pace. So if you have a busy weekend planned, don't worry. And our team is going to put the link on where to register. There's also free videos that you can watch of Geshe Michael, which are wonderful. There's even an hour-long program, I think, is one of them, where you can learn so much about this topic of freedom from addictions and see if you're interested in learning more. But even just watching those free videos will give people a great purchase of understanding what this is all about.
And it gives you the key to stopping your own addiction and helping others stop theirs. Really key point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. I think we've used our 20 minutes. So I just want to thank everybody out there, and especially Professor John Brady, key presenter in the Freedom from Addictions. So I'm really happy to have you on board, and Alex and our tech team, Michelle, Alan, Palina. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
thank you
you,
so much. So good to see you both. I miss you both. Hopefully we
Good
have
to
a
see you too.
alumni reunification celebration.
Yeah, you've been such a great mentor to us. So thank you so much for coming here and joining us on our show. Really, yeah,
To
warms our heart.
continue. Thanks
Yeah.
again.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.